Oh, say it ain't so. The best intro that I've put out there together, and the mic was off. Classic CTM, classic Jordan style. Good morning, everyone. Happy morning. Good morning. Bitcoin under $30,000 over here. There's a lot to talk about. There are those that think the 4-year cycle is broken. There are those that'll say, listen, I'll see you next halving. There are those that are wondering, how much lower could it go? Right? That's a really good question. How much lower could we go? What are we looking at? And there are those that are thinking, you know what? I'm taking responsibility for myself and I'm buying the dip. Today's episode is very special. It's going to be very important. Introducing a new insight over here that is really going to help you see with clarity. You remember, everything is muddied. When did everything get muddied? It was over here on May 14th, Friday the May 14th. 1 hour talking about how everything has changed, everything is unclear. Someone has jumped into the lake and just did a cannonball, and you have to wait for the mud to settle, right? And here we go, 5 weeks later, nothing's changed. Everything continues to be unclear. I think I have a little bit of further clarity to add to the whole situation. I'm really glad for that. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to share that a little bit later. First, we're going to take a look at what's going on. We're not going to be looking at Forex during this session. Directly afterwards at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time in the Discord, I will send the link. We're going to do a CTM only FX session. I'm looking forward to that this morning. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for being here together. I'm really excited about this show. Bitcoin right now trading at $30,000 and 30,000 on the nose almost. Almost got it on the nose, just triggered below, right? And emotions, I think most people are riding it like true hodlers, right? Now, listen, this morning on the Discord, we were talking about, what a hodler means, and what the difference is between a forced hodler and someone whose actual strategy is to hold, and someone whose strategy is to hold and sell cycle peak, and others who think that we've already peaked. How do you know? Really, really good conversation. I'm grateful for everything that all of you bring. I'm going to start this off talking about, before I get into Bitcoin, because again, I have something really important to share with you this morning. I want to start with this great question that I saw that was posted overnight on yesterday's video. And it's one thing that keeps confusing me is that Bitcoin was supposed to decouple from the stock market. And it actually did by dropping massively. Now I tend to hear that whether Bitcoin can hold up depends on the stock market. Bitcoin won't hold up under a stock market correction, so Bitcoin decouples for its own correction and then suddenly recouples when the market drops. I mean, this is an excellent question. Let's take a look at it. We've talked about often that Bitcoin was going to decouple when. I said starting in the first quarter 2021. Right? What happened in the first quarter of 2021? We saw Bitcoin go up 100%, right? Or more. It went up 100% in about, let me just take a look over here as we get going. Bitcoin, January the 1st, it went up, 100% in, I guess the 6 weeks. Massively decoupling from the stock market, right? And then over here you saw, 135% to its cycle peak, a huge decoupling. What about Bitcoin year on the date, by the way? Bitcoin up right now, 7-8%, we'll call it, whatever it is. If I wanted to get exact, we find out that it's up a little bit higher than that. Not important. What about the stock market? Well, the stock market's also up 8% right now. So suddenly they've kind of rebalanced. But we also said that it's in the third quarter 2021 where Bitcoin's really going to decouple from the stock market. Listen, always been clear about those two things. You would see it decoupling in the first quarter 2021. We saw it a lot earlier, by the way. The stock market went under a 10% correction over here in late September, October, while Bitcoin went up massively over here. So we've seen signs of them decoupling. What about what happens right now if there's a stock market correction? There's a difference if the stock market begins to correct because there's some type of system structure, some type of, we just saw last year a liquidity crisis. We have excessive liquidity right now, so it doesn't seem anytime soon that the possibility of a liquidity crisis presents itself. Could we have a taper tantrum? Listen, when we had a taper tantrum, that was because Bernanke testifying before the Senate, kind of slipped out. They were getting ready to tighten. The market never experienced that before, and the market does what the market does. It overreacts. By the way, Fed Chair Powell is testifying this morning. Let's see what he has to say after waking up the market last week, the market working everything out. I could see yields this morning are currently up in the middle of our bull flag. We'll look at that in a second. If there's any type of crisis in the markets that causes the stock market not to correct but to crash, Bitcoin will once again be correlated with that, as will every other asset for sure. We're not seeing any signs of that occurring. Right now, the market's looking at 2 years from now, and 2 years from now, the market is saying, oh, the Fed might be tightening. If they do, that's going to be a mistake. But again, going back to last week, I said you have to give it a couple of weeks before we find out what's going on. Everyone's calling for the stock market to crash, and I'm like, it's too soon. We haven't seen any signs of that yet whatsoever. And if you look at the market here, right now, we're just consolidating in this channel towards the top piece of it, right? Could we be, by the way, just let me zoom in for a second. You remember this resistance we put up in yesterday's session? Do you see that we've traded up into it? This was done in yesterday's session as price was, we traded up into it, and right now are resuming off. You could see the 8-hour making a lower low, right? Is that any type of like sell signal? I continue to have the posture in the equity markets until we see some type of technical breakdowns. Let them be. We're not seeing that occur. On the Nasdaq, which is looking more precarious, we have the rising wedge over here. We have the support over it. As long as that holds, there's no reason to look for any type of sell signal whatsoever. Let's see what continues to transpire. The markets are not crashing. And if they crash, we're going to be there and take a look at it. The 10-year is pretty important. A lot of people at this point are calling for deflation to pick up again. Those are the same people, by the way, that called as the Fed expanded their balance sheet by $4.1 trillion for deflation. Do you remember the whole argument was QE is deflationary, right? Fast forward 15 months later, those people are now like, well, the inflation's clear. Not only that, but after every recession, it's clear that yields rise. Okay, then why did you miss the trade? And going forward, right now, those people are calling again for deflation to pick up. It's too soon to make that assessment. We need a couple of things to happen before we even get on board that. First of all, we need to see the Raoul line to break out over here, out of the reverse head and shoulders. The dollar breaks out of there and starts strengthening. That's going to be a sign that this could be more of a trend. Right now, we're looking a strong downtrend, and we're into resistance. This is just horizontal resistance that we're being rejected by. We haven't even gotten to the trend line, the neckline resistance over here yet. So this is, this is neutral in the fact that we broke Will's trend line over here to the upside. The sell pressure is now alleviated, neutral in a strong downtrend into resistance. It's too soon to call a turn in the dollar, but then again, for the last 15 months, multiple times, the same crowd has called for that turn in the dollar, right? And then you look at the 10 years here, we're just inside this bull flag. We're in the middle now. We went into the resistance on Friday of last week. Monday opened up at the support. We're just in the middle. I can't make any type of decision, at least until we break to the upside or downside. So we wait. We wait and we watch. The markets are not crashing in this moment. Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is absolutely crashing over here, down another 6%. It is testing the spike low from that bloodbath morning on May 19th, just last month, right? And look, do you think a lot of traders have their stops over here? I would genuinely be surprised if those stop losses are not triggered. Even perhaps over here, around 27,750. I think all those things are highly possible. I don't know what's going to happen. People talking about what we could see on the downside, right? Listen, all right, let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the good stuff over here, and then we'll come back and we'll look at price action. This was shared yesterday. Listen, I'm just following the flow, right? I'm following the flow of what you're all doing. If you're watching this on the replay today, thanks for being here. Could you go ahead and smash the like button? And if you're watching this live, if you're grateful for the community and all we do over here, please go ahead and share the love, right? Smash that like button as we get going. Boom. Regardless of what's going on with Bitcoin under $30,000, currently, I'm very grateful to Jordan, and finding this channel is one of the best things that happened in my life. Thank you, Ray. Without Jordan's persistent education about Bitcoin, I would have stubbornly I would have been stubbornly against it and not been able to position last year. Thanks for sharing that. You know, this was shared yesterday also by Donnie. Jordan, thanks for the guidance. You are a gem. I started with 16,000 over here. His Blockfolio portfolio now $69,000. Beautiful. Love to see it. Again, this was shared yesterday also. This is ESO Health. Fact, everyone in here missed the top. This is a fact. Everyone here missed the top due to having no clear guidance and hopium being pumped. Sad. Fact, few would be sitting up 3 to 4% on their trades had it not been for the guidance and analysis of this channel. You're salty. This was shared yesterday, as was this on the same video. Right? Keith over here. Now, listen, this comment was taken down only because he's showing some of the stuff that's shared inside the CTM training program sessions. I am a 6X student and started building my position at 9K per Bitcoin upon CTM guidance when Bitcoin was in trouble. Right? Jordan guest starred Brad released a video, right? Referring to the 6+ month trend that line, if broken downward, right? At about $53,000, would change the sentiment and trend of the cycle. This sense of awareness had me on razor's edge and ready. The CTM video, talking about the break below 54 per Bitcoin is, I can't read it, hold on, is when I exited upon the break and I got all my money out as Elon posted this terrible tweet and I had not watched the video, I would have lost six figures of profits. I entered Bitcoin because of CTM. I exited Bitcoin because of CTM, and I gained 6-figure profits because of CTM. End of story. The CTM channel is meant to coach and mentor, not pick your trades for you. Jordan says to make your own choices, not financial advice. If you entered Bitcoin closer to the all-time high and did not sell upon signals that were painfully clear and disclosed by Jordan, Brad, CTM is not to blame. You are. Own your mistakes. Do not make excuses. The silent majority speaking out yesterday without even being asked all over the place. The salty ones, the angry ones, they're always there. They're always there. Learn from the losing trades, not the winners. Move forward. Thanks CTM for empowering me with knowledge I gained and the bad habits I gotten rid of. Mind you, I was a break-even trader with minimal profits until I found CTM in May of 2020. I joined the course. Rest is history. Thank you. The Hoffman family. Eric, no, I got some stuff to cover. Eric, yeah, I got some stuff to cover, and I'm going to do it as I please. If this is not for you, I'll see you later. You don't need to be here. We don't need you, you know? That's for sure. Same video over here. This is yesterday. I sold 5% from the top in May. Glad I followed the channel. I gave my guidance to see through a lot of the noise. I'll see you in the fall. Jason, good job, my brother, taking responsibility for yourself. Did you ever see this? All right, brother. Eric, I'll see you later, brother. I don't need you. All right. This looks like if you were like to see a psychologist and they're like, what does this ink plot look like? You know? And I'd be like, it looks like a squiggly monster from space with 2 red eyes, right? You know, a lot of things to a lot of different people. You know, but actually this was shared by Jesse and it was so important. It gave me a lot of perspective, a lot of insight, and I'm going to share with you right now why. Very important over here. Everyone, I know everyone is distracted. The price of Bitcoin, you know, bleeding out over here. I expect it's going to go lower, you know, and I expect, you know, anyway, let's take a look at that lastly. When I looked at this chart over here last week, I'm saying to myself, well, something's not right, right? What's not right? You can see this current orange cycle over here, the 2020 cycle. It's now leaving, you know, this is the upper bound of this is the 2012 cycle. The lower bound is the 2016. And why it had been in the middle the whole time, now it has, you know, it is trading below the lower bound. And you could look at that and you could say, well, something's wrong here. Something's not right, right? Now take it a little bit forward. And this is coming off of Jesse's inkblot chart that he showed me over here. And when we line it up on CTM using the model, we're lining it up now at this point, starting at the halving. The halving happens every 4 years. The miner's reward is cut in half, right? As the miner's reward is cut in half, it sends a shock to the supply. It sends off the price of Bitcoin, right, into the bull market phase. The whole 4-year cycle is because of the halving event every 210,000 blocks, right? We line it up from the halving until we get to the new all-time high. Once we hit the new all-time high, we found the symmetry between how many more days to the cycle peak between the previous two cycles is within about 9 days. That's pretty accurate, right? Then we take it even further, and the mid-cycle dip, we line it up, and then we find out the last 150 days is lined up almost to the day. So we're trying to be as accurate as possible. Lining our model up here from the mid-cycle dip, you can notice a couple of things. You can notice that price right now is trading below the previous trajectory of the previous two cycles, right? So a lot of people are like, the model's broken. The model's broken. Why would you use the model? The model makes no sense. I'm not using the model. The model's broken. But what about over here when the price was trading above the previous two trajectories? Was the model broken over here? And if the model wasn't broken over here, why do you think it's broken over here? We have two data points. We have two previous 4-year cycles that we use in order to give us an idea of where we are, right? That's not to say going forward 4 years from now, we won't be looking at 3. And this band will be slightly different. It's going to include this period over here, and it's going to include this period over here. Take it further, right, Ian? It shows me that this cycle became overextended, right? The cycle became overextended in this area. That's what that shows me when compared to previous cycles, which is why we know we turned into an exhaustion phase. Now we know that we turned into an exhaustion phase over here. Price just every time it made a higher high, it was exhausted. It couldn't do much anymore, right? It was running hot in the beginning. This isn't a learning experience. The only way that you improve going further is learning from your mistakes. Don't think you're jumping into the markets and you got it straight from get-go. That's not how it works. 20 years and I'm sitting here learning each and every day. All right? So anyway, here we go. Let's take it a lit's further. Listen to what Ian's saying, right? Rather than healthy consolidation. Before moving to the mid-cycle shakeout. For context, here's the 2016-2020 cycles centered on the halving. So we're going to look at this next. We're looking at the 2016 in blue, the current cycle in red, and we're going to center them on the halving. All right? Let's keep going. Notice, even before the halving, you see periods of overexhaustion, right? Let's take a look at this over here. Notice this is before the halving. Do you see that the current cycle was outperforming? By the way, this was all before what? This was before the Fed began its uber easy monetary policy. This was before the crisis, the dollar liquidity crisis, and this was before the Fed expanded their balance sheet by $4.1 trillion. We were seeing the current cycle outperform. It's just an observation. You have to make observations, right? So notice even after the shakeout, we're still above the previous cycle, right? Let's take a look at what he's saying over here. Then we saw the halving event occur, and we saw price this cycle leading, right? It's disingenuous to talk about diminishing returns at this particular point. That's not what the market is showing us. The market was showing us that we're outperforming the previous cycle. Now we could say, or I was saying, I think it happens to be because of QE. I think it's because of the uber easy monetary conditions. And I believe that to be true, although you have to say that, listen, prior to the halving, it was also outperforming by a strong degree, right? You could see this area over here where price, corrected during the crisis and was underperforming the previous cycle. That's happening again right now, right? What happens from here going forward, we do not know. Do we continue downward and or sideways and really break from this previous cycle? Or is this a particular, has price already, as it was way far above outperforming, after the mid-cycle dip, still outperforming the previous cycle, going to correct upwards? I mean, we don't have the answer to that yet, but I can tell you that it is only from consulting previous cycles. It is only from consulting previous cycles that I myself have been able to position myself early, and many of you have not only been able to position yourself early, but stay into the trade. Stay into the trade. It was back over here, right, December 8th, 2020, when I'm looking and telling you, look what happened consulting previous cycles, right? And expecting where we were going to go and how we were going to get there. There's no way that I could have done it. There's no way. Just another comment, I don't need to get into it, right? This was from last week, so I'm not even going to talk about it. But I will say, listen, I have paid off student loans, car loans, credit cards, taking vacations for the first time in years, creating memories with my 3 small children, right? And now have enough profits to fully fund their college. I'm forever in Jordan's debt. Thank you. It's a joy. It is my joy. There's no question about that. Thank you for taking responsibility for yourself. It was by consulting this, as price was, previous to the halving, price under $10,000, that we positioned in, envisioning what was going to happen going into the halving as we're in an accumulation phase, and then after the halving. There's no way that I've gotten to where we are and done. Remember this video? This video was November 13th, 2019. People were talking still about this point, some hyper BS stuff, and Bitcoin going to $1,500, right? I put out this video. I made the bullish case for Bitcoin because of the halving event, right? Now, a lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of people are like, this time's different. Everything has changed. We're looking at shorter cycles. Bitcoin's already peaked, and this time's different. The institutions are here. Wait, I thought the institutions are here. I meant we're going to have no bear markets and that we enter a super cycle, right? That was the narrative just 2 months ago. Now price is trading up and everyone's like, no. Lengthening cycles. We're going to have lengthening cycles. This time's different. By the way, I'm going to look at with Ken today in this afternoon, recording an amazing video with Ken presenting some really solid information on truly what lengthening cycles would look like. I want to be aware of it. I want to learn from it. We'll be able to share that with everyone probably tomorrow afternoon. Really looking forward to recording with Ken today on that. Listen, and now people are like, no, this is the peak of the bull market. We've entered a bear market. So now we're talking about shorter cycles. Everyone's all over the place, right? And most of the people that are putting out opinions, the loud ones, they were not the people that positioned in down over here, right? They were not people that positioned down, and now they have an opinion. And great, you could have an opinion. Put your money where your mouth is. I put my money where my mouth is. That's how I'm invested. Why? So anyway, right now, I just want to be clear. I am going to continue to consult our model over here. I think that the 4-year cycle is what got me over here, and it was what's going to continue to get me going forward. There's no question about that. We are working, and we'll know as we consult Ken's work today what happens if truly we are entering something like lengthening cycles. It's hard for me to make the case for shorter cycles. Is it possible that we've peaked over here in Bitcoin without a blow off top, that we're seeing something new occur in the market, and we have this distribution, Wyckoff distribution, leading to a market top, a shorter cycle, that we're going to trade off 70%, taking us back down to 19,400, the previous all-time high of the previous cycle, and that's not going to hold, and we go down 85%? Or maybe now that maybe we don't, the 85% doesn't hold this time. Only in the previous 2 cycles have we seen 85% hold in a bear market. Maybe this time it goes lower. Maybe Bitcoin's going back down towards, $3,000. I don't know. Maybe it's going off 90. Is that what people believe? I don't believe that. That's not how I'm positioned. That's not where my money's at. Could it happen? Yeah, Bitcoin could go to zero. There could be a bug in the code. Bitcoin could fail. It could go to zero. Now, every 10 minutes that a new block is confirmed, the odds of that happening are less and less, right? I get that people are kind of shook. I get that people like Bitcoin. By the way, just a little perspective for it's not just me. When we came down to $3,600 just over a year ago, over 61% of people holding Bitcoin did not sell. They had been holding Bitcoin for over a year. They did not sell over here. Do you think we're tough? Yeah, we're tough. It's called hodlers of last resort. We're not selling Bitcoin. We are the floor. There's no question about that, right? Now, listen, you don't participate in an asset that has 150%, 200% average gains per year without expecting volatility. You don't get to participate in the gains to the upside if you can't handle the volatility to the downside. you're probably better off, investing in another asset, whether it be equities or something like gold or whatever, something where you can handle the volatility, right? Because gold is a lot easier, right? What's gold off from the all-time high last over year? Is it down 30%? You know, yeah, 20%. That might be something that you could handle. Now you're not experiencing obviously the gains to the upside that we're experiencing, right? Gold off the March low had a nice healthy return. Let's take a look at it and get some perspective over here. Gold, today is up 20% from that March low. So, if the 20%, if the drawdowns on Bitcoin are too much for you, you might be interested in something a little less volatile. 20% drawdowns to the downside, something you could handle. From the March low, 20% gain. That might be for you. For me, it's a little different. If I look at the gains from the March low, it's a little bit different. I'm up 780% compared to your 20%. A little bit of perspective. If you can't handle it, it's not for you. But listen, most of you or anyone selling Bitcoin at these levels, I genuinely believe, right? Again, I'm gonna troll you at 100K. I'm gonna troll you, and I'm gonna let you know $55,000 Bitcoin's cheap. And when Bitcoin's trading at $500,000, right? Are you gonna see memes pointed at your direction? Of course you are. Anyway, just trying to help those that are able to go ahead and make critical thinking has been lost. The ability to think for yourself has been lost, right? Unfortunately, as we see take place across the internet, there are some that are very loud. They're very loud, they're very obnoxious, and they're the noise. But a lot of people get influenced by that noise. They're not able to put on the blinders. They're not able to see what the signal is, and they believe because these loud few are making this noise. The loud kid, the loud little kid, the one kid who's out there and he's making a tantrum, and the negative attention is all about him. He's the loudest in the room. Everyone knows who he is. But you have 12 other kids who are awesome kids. Those 12 kids are considerate of each other. They play well together. They know how to share. But everyone's focused on the one kid, right? That's kind of how it is over here on the internet. Over here, people leaving, nasty comments on Twitter, and really, thank God, not really to me compared to what other people are talking about. Whether it's even someone like Benjamin doing his best to put out content for everyone and help educate them on what he thinks happening. He put out a tweet yesterday talking about and showing the nasty comments. The guy from What Bitcoin Did. People receive it. Truly, thankfully, I'm not receiving any of that type of nonsense. The worst that I'm seeing is people like, you were wrong about Bitcoin. And I'm like, what do you mean I was wrong about Bitcoin? Not only are we positioned well and holding because it's mid-cycle for the hodlers, right? People that were trading on a lower time preference, well, you're dead wrong if you're still in at $58,000. You're late, but you're dead wrong below that. And then we try to get it into the repair, calling the V out. Look, I was wrong. That's not a V. I was wrong. That's not a V. Not only that, $50,000. I don't know what's going on. That's the worst I have to take. It's not so bad, whatever. But listen, I just want to make it clear for everyone. That's it. I think we're going to have a short session today. We're going to have that FX session to look forward to, where we're really going to get into the technicals. We're going to help sharpen everyone's skills. Right now, the market's exciting as the dollar's waking up over here. We're seeing some volatility. Whether or not, we're going to see further dollar extensions to the upside as we come into this area of resistance if it breaks, or this is setting up an opportunity here to position against the dollar. We're going to let the charts tell us. I've seen some Japanese strength over here as the market pivoted last week. I saw it like trends that have been going on for months and months and months all of a sudden break. We're going to have to evaluate what that means for the Japanese yen pairs. We'll do it together. Before I do that, I'm going to play some honeymoon vocals, and I'm going to see what else is going on, anything that we want to address before closing this out today. We'll take a look at this one in a second. Oh, lots of good questions. We'll take a look at them. Oh, we didn't get that. We got so much to cover. Oh my goodness, we got so many good questions here to talk about. Buckle in. We're gonna get going over here. Let's do it. You ready? We got a lot to cover. There's one more question I wanted to highlight, and it's that one over here. Michael, let me hopefully get to that. So, all right, boom. Buying the dip today, fully responsible about my moves. First of all, love the entry. I bought the dip last week a little higher. I bought 33,500. I also bought 39,000. I'm pretty confident. I'm extremely confident that just a few months from now, I'm going to be feeling very strong and good about those buys. That was the first time I bought the dip, by the way, since positioning fully in over here into before the halving, right? But I looked at that as opportunity for the way that I deploy my spot strategy. I have different strategies. I have a spot strategy. I have a BlockFi strategy where I'm lending against current Bitcoin and or taking money out. And I also have a trading strategy, right? I'm not going to get into those right now. Christopher's wonderful, by the way. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of your prayers and thoughts, especially for him and mom. They're both doing really well. Thank you so much. Really grateful for the support of the community throughout all of that. We only have 636 likes in here. Wow, that's light. That's all right. All right, we got a lot to talk about over here. Right? Hydra, quiet watcher, but made a lot of money here. Awesome. Hiya, 5011. Thank you for sharing that with you. Because the question is, right, over here, devil's advocate, those success story posts you just read were also outliers. Those just came yesterday. I can't tell you. I can't tell you the amount of people, the amount of stuff and stories people have shared with me. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous, and anyway, but whatever. We all know who's there, right? What happened to just look at price action? Here we go. What happened to just looking at price action and being objective? Mark Douglas about the markets. Anything could happen. This is a good one. Anything could happen, by the way. Bitcoin could go to zero, right? Let me talk about that for 1 second. And when we talk about like what happened to just looking at price action, when I'm trading, right? And I was trading, by the way, Bitcoin, when we broke out over here, technically, of the bull market over here, and broke out, came in for that retest. From this area, I was trading Bitcoin. You all remember over here, Bitcoin, breaks out over here, and I'm like, listen, here's the target, 14,000. You take off 60%, you let the other 40% ride. It should still be riding, by the way, unless you took it out when we exited Bitcoin. And then this whole way up, I'm trading, entering in all the repairs, trading, entering all the repairs. The first time I exited or gave an exit of anything was, I forget my exit. I told you that morning, right? April 16th. I told you my exit, but I said if you're not out by 58,000, you're late, but you're not wrong. Below that, you're dead wrong. The first time I gave an exit on Bitcoin was over there, $58,000. If you're not out by that, you're dead wrong. From over here, that was the time to be trading, and that didn't stop over there though for me, right? Now, following price alone, after we came back down, I tried to get the repairs, right? This repair, and then it was not until over here that I said, listen, not any longer. It's all muddied. I was wrong about the V. That's not a V. I'm out of the market. I'm neutral. Things are unclear, and I haven't traded since then, right? And I'm not trading. So you're saying what happened to being objective? Well, I'm not deploying my third strategy, and I have not taken a trade since, right? The trading was why things were clear, and during the bull market, and it was time to trade, I said things are unclear, and since then I've said things are unclear. If you all remember when we broke up above this area over here, and everyone's like, okay, I'm getting in, and I'm like, no, things are unclear. Things have to break above this trend line over here for things to be clear again and for me to begin trading again. So when you're talking about what happened to just looking at price action, well, I'm not deploying that strategy. It was great when it was time to do it, and right now things are really unclear. I have no interest in trading Bitcoin like to the upside, to the downside, and playing ranges on it, right? During the bull market phase, when I could trade with momentum to the upside, well, that's when I'm doing it, right? I'm trading. Don't forget, look at the amount of gains that took place in this area, right? 600% gains. Yeah, I'm trading Bitcoin. I got the momentum behind me. I'm trading it only to the upside. I don't need to trade to the downside. If I would have started trading when Bitcoin broke, where things became unclear from 47,000 down and tried to trade a 34% down move, not really. That's not for me. I'm going with like the easy fruit, right? Picking the bottom fruit, right? I'm not. So there's your objective price action. I don't know if Mark's a trader or not. He's a good psychologist, I don't know if he's a trader or not, but that's what a trader does. Are bears in control? 100% bears are in control. Bears are in control like all day long. We were having some fun in the Discord group with the bears yesterday. And I was like, remember when that silly bear appeared? That silly bear, the silly dancing bear appeared? Man, next time he appears, I'm going to take him seriously and realize it could be a grizzly mauling my face if I laugh at the bear again. The bears are in control right now. No question about that. Right? This is an important one. Would I say it's a good time to start adding to altcoin bags? Not me. Not at all. The reason being, if you remember during this period, do you remember when I kept saying something's not, I know you remember, something's not right, I don't know what it is, and it had to do, I kept showing you the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, what happened previous cycle, the peak of alt season, and how it was different until it occurred. This particular point of cycle, right, and not for the next 45 to 60 days as much as the next 60 days after that, I expect Bitcoin dominance to really rise and strongly, right? I think it's not the time. And if that happens, by the way, then that's a clear indication that we're going to be looking at an alt season, the second alt season. Each cycle has 2 alt seasons, right? By the way, we're not just saying this in hindsight. We said it before it happened. We positioned into alts at the right time, right? So I believe there will be a second alt season. But I think if you really want to have the timing on your side, like now is not the time, in my opinion, to position into all alts. Now, alts versus the dollar during this next half of the bull market, yes, they perform well. And if you have your setups, pick your setups, but do it CTM style with CTM principles. What does that mean? Listen, if your strategy is sincerely that your dollar cost averaging into alts, that's a tough one for me. I see the case for Bitcoin long term, right? I think alts, in my opinion, are for trading short term. You have to do it by managing your risk. You only take the CTM style entries and you do it with CTM style risk management. Otherwise, you're leaving yourself to be hurt, So be careful about that. Now, if everything plays out according to plan, they'll be setting up the next alt season. We'll make everyone aware of that. We'll be talking about it. But right now, that's not in play. We're just coming off the first alt season peak. All right. So careful about those alt bags right now, in my opinion. I've heard other people out there who are focused on alts and they're like, alts are down 70%. It's a good time to add. I mean, in relation to what the peak of the second alt season will be, probably a good time to add. Is not my style whatsoever. Right? Jordan, rather than sell, should one short altcoins to protect their downside? Look, I mean, short altcoins versus what? Versus Bitcoin? You know, versus the dollar? No. By the way, if Bitcoin over here has some type of like liquidity pull, if it comes in, even taking out this low here or this low here, I mean, it is possible. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's possible it shoots up. And if that happens, alts are going to spring up with it. I wouldn't be shorting alts at all. I wouldn't do it. I think it's completely risky, especially at these levels down over here. We were talking about what happened, is what's happening on Ethereum, resembling what happened at this point last cycle on Bitcoin. If you go back to what happened at this point on Bitcoin, over here, this is when Bitcoin took out that last low over there, and then it shot up like crazy. Like here's that in real time. I mean, that's not something that I want to. I'm not saying that's going to happen again now, but it took out that liquidity right there, and then don't take unnecessary risks right now while things are unclear. It's not a time for taking risks. It's a time to be defensive, and it's a time where have you seen me for now going on 5 weeks being on the sidelines? Not being on the sidelines and buying the dip on my spot. That's the way to do it. Anyway, that's how I'm doing it, I should say. So there we go, Mark. We don't know how low we're going. We have no idea how low we're going. And listen, is it possible that something uniquely happens over here? When I say that, what am I talking about? I'm trying to clean up these charts for 1 second. Is it possible that Bitcoin over here is able to not only challenge the last previous all-time high? We had a question about this is all related. We had a question about the golden ratio, right? I know the MS config is in here. MS config, thank you for all the solid work that you continue to put out. You're very active on Twitter, putting out solid information all the time. And you're doing it like with calmness and centeredness amongst all this crazy emotion and noise. A huge asset to the greater community right now, for sure. Boom, 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 boom. Where was that line of thought going? But MG, I don't know what to think about Grayscale taking out 16,000 Bitcoin out of cold storage. There are people, I'm sure, who could give better insight. If anyone finds out a particular thread on Twitter, please make sure that my eyes get on it, bring it to our attention. I would like to know about it. That's not my strength or forte, right? And then we're talking about right there, right? Good question. If we break further below and evaluate the golden ratio perspective during the mid-cycle dip, it's possible. Anything is possible. It's the markets. We'll be aware of it. We're watching for it. Is it possible that Bitcoin not only breaks the golden ratio over here, but comes down, drops off 70% from the all-time high, still a bull market by the rational roots definition, right? And then takes out the previous all-time high after being up 3x? That would be a first. Yeah, it's possible. What happens if that happens, right? Has anything changed for the bullish case of Bitcoin? Do you not think, if you watched, we mentioned yesterday, watching Raul's work, where he's talking about where he believes the macro's at, asterisk, he wasn't right 15 months ago or for the whole 15 months, but he could be right now, right? The material he's presenting now could actually be right going forward. You want to consult it. You want to be aware of it. What he's saying, though, is that, listen, the Fed's next move is going to be not what everyone thinks where it comes to actually tightening. The Fed is going to have to expand QE and QE purchases. I was listening to an interview yesterday with Larry Summers, ex-Treasury Secretary, with Ray Dalio. And that's Ray's perspective. He believes that the Fed there's going to be no one there to buy the bonds. The Fed is going to have to expand their QE purchases. If that happens, what does that do for the bullish case of Bitcoin going forward, right? That's the whole point of Bitcoin to begin with, right? So if we come down into $20,000, are you then at that point a forced hodler? Well, yeah. The whole idea and from the get-go is to hold, right? And then when we get that cycle peak, sell the cycle peak. By the way, that could change for a lot of people in the US, depending on, what tax bracket you're in. If all of a sudden they change the capital gains, I know I myself will no longer be looking to sell and will have to hold through the cycle peak and look to borrow against my Bitcoin during the cycle low, right? You have to adapt to what's going on in the markets. Nevertheless, if we come down over here to 70%, are you a forced hodler? Well, no, you were a hodler to begin with. You just don't get to sell your Bitcoin at the cycle peak. That's the game. That's what you're playing. Your perspective is all out of whack. And you got to refocus, you got to recenter, and you got to see what game you're playing and why. All right, everyone. That's it for now. Maybe there's a couple of more sessions. Some people don't like that. That's okay. It doesn't really matter. A couple of questions. I'm going to actually play some Honey Mood so I can figure out the rest of these questions, something else I want to cover. Anthony jumping in and wondering about what's going on with the Bitcoin death cross. We looked at it not only yesterday, but also last week as it was approaching. Look, here's historical death crosses occurring in Bitcoin. You could look after 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, and 180 days what the return has been. Listen, we've already looked at it. Anthony, if you're just jumping in, you got to put the work in, right? And that works. That research has all been thoroughly looked at and consulted. So what else? And that's it, right? For everyone, good session. I'm going to go ahead and prepare for this FX session. Heath, thanks, brother. Heath, thanks, brother, for everything that you do. If anyone missed last Saturday's upload, Heath talking about the market structure and price action analysis of the markets, that is absolutely an epic presentation that Heath did. Make sure that you watch it. After that, for sure, you're going to subscribe to Trade Talk. All right, everyone. May God bless you and I'll talk to you soon.